have done nothing wrong. I can tell you with confidence that this investigation is not about me. I have not been charged with the crime, and I am confident that I will not be charged with the crime because I am innocent.
Well, those comments about her not being the target of the investigation definitely didn't age well, because former Mayor Sheng Thao, who was recently recalled in this past election of Oakland, was just indicted on counts of bribery, 8 in particular, and of course peddling influence to a very powerful connected Vietnamese family in and around the Oakland area.
The indictment returned by the grand jury describes a corrupt scheme in which the defendants used bribes, mail fraud, wire fraud, and other illegal practices to manipulate and corruptly influence the levers of local government. Before I describe the details of the indictment, I want to emphasize one thing. What I'm about to describe are just allegations. Every defendant is entitled to the presumption of innocence, is presumed innocent, unless and until his or her guilt is established beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. The indictment charges a scheme that the defendants entered into knowing that bribes would be offered and accepted by Thao and Jones in exchange for allowing the Duongs to exercise illegal influence over the levers of city government.
Now, not only is this yet another Democrat in legal trouble for corruption, but in addition to that, she is a Black Lives Matter defund the police type of Democrat. And what do you know? Once again, these type of people who are against law enforcement, against law and order, actually turn out to allegedly be criminals themselves. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. But before we do, I want to remind you all that my friend Devin Tracy, his parents recently lost their family home in the California wildfires. He started a GoFundMe in order to help them get back on their feet. So if you can donate, please do. If you can't or unable to or don't want to, don't worry about it. No pressure. But without further ado, let us get into this.
The indictment alleges that the illegal conspiracy began around October 22, before the November 2022 Oakland mayoral election. Weeks before that election, Thao made commitments to take official actions as mayor that would benefit the Duongs. Examples of promises allegedly made by Thao include her agreement to purchase housing units from a company owned by the Duong family, her agreement to ensure the extension of a contract for recycling services that the city of Oakland had with one of David and Andy Duong's companies, and her agreement to use influence to help appoint a high-level city official to benefit the Duong's business interests. In exchange, the Duongs allegedly provided payments to Thao and Jones in various forms, including the financing of a negative mailer campaign targeting Thao's political rivals, and providing Jones and Thao with $95,000 in direct payments disguised as wages for a no-show job.
So a lot of times when we have federal corruption investigations, the issues at hand are sometimes very complicated, over-convoluted. However, this is a very straightforward, according to the indictment, influence peddling operation where Mayor Thao was directly benefiting through payments made to a romantic partner who is identified as Jones in the indictment by the Duong family. Now, if you guys are unaware, the Duong family is a very powerful family in and around this particular area. They had a waste management or recycling contract with the city. Part of the apparent bribery scheme was to get them to renew that waste contract. However, in addition to that, we also have other allegations, like the fact that the mayor was using the power of the city in order to purchase properties from the Duong family, again, to directly benefit them. Let us go into the Department of Justice summary of the indictment so you guys can understand a little bit more about this. The indictment describes that Thao promised to commit the city of Oakland to purchasing housing units from the Duong's housing company, extend the city's contract with the Duong's recycling company, and appoint city officials selected by the Duong's. In exchange, David and Andy Duong promised and did fund a $75,000 negative mailing campaign targeting Tao's opponents in the mayoral election, and made a $95,000 in payments to Jones for a no-show job with their housing company, with the promise promise of additional payments, all intended to benefit Thao and Jones. So to be clear, it is perfectly legal for you to put out negative mailers against candidates that you don't support in our election, because Citizens United affirm the right of freedom of speech in terms of political speech and you putting in whatever amount of money you want to. However, what makes this particular funding of this mailer campaign specifically illegal, according to the Department of Justice, is the fact that this was done in consultation with the candidate, and the one rule for super PACs or wealthy individuals is that they cannot coordinate directly with the campaign, because we still have regular ordinary campaign finance limitations. In addition to that, you also heard about the no-show job. So what this essentially means is that Jones was hired at this particular place for a salary of $95,000. He never showed up. The hiring was just on paper, and he still received the $95,000. And according again to the summary of the indictment, Jones ended up paying all of Thao's rent going forward based on the money that he was receiving. So she had material benefits from this particular relationship, which is a big no-no. It is obviously bribery. And in addition to that, there was also, again, additional pushes for more money that was going to go to Jones to benefit Thao in order to perpetuate this scheme. And by the way, that government official that Thao was to appoint at the behest of the Duongs was in fact appointed. Now, this investigation obviously goes back years. The mayoral campaign in question was back in 2022. We also heard about the investigation into the Duongs and into Sheng Thao when her place was raided a couple of months ago. We talked about this, and she was really angry because she says she obviously didn't do nothing, was an innocent Beba Angel Aladdin just trying to feed her starving family, and she thought it was politically motivated in order to undercut her during her recall campaign. Now, to be clear, she was under recall specifically for her woke defund the police policies that led to a spike in crime. And I know a lot of people always like to say under my videos related to Oakland that Oakland was always bad, Oakland was always corrupt, Oakland was always terrible, but make no mistake about it, prior to this woman taking office, prior to the Black Lives Matter effect, Oakland was actually seeing historic drops in crime. In fact, this was taken note of by local news segments at the time, and the Oakland PD was credited with this because they had more officers, they were using technology, and all of that was reversed by Sheng Thao.
Oakland leaders releasing the annual crime data report, which they say shows a steady 5-year decline in shootings, homicides, and robberies. There were 75 homicides occurring in Oakland last year. That is down from 85 in 2016, and that follows that downward trend. 2016 brought a 12% drop in violent crime versus the 5-year average, and a 20% drop in robberies. The police department has credited the improvement on a more prominent police presence and getting help from the community. With better technology, more residents and business owners are giving police video evidence of crime.
Now, the defendants allegedly took steps to conceal their bribery scheme by, among other actions, at Thao's discretion, making the bribe payments to Jones to avoid a paper trail, which is written as trial, to Thao, misrepresenting that Jones had a legitimate job with the Duong's housing company to mask bribery payments, creating false invoices for bribe payments from the Duong's recycling company, and failing to disclose the benefits received on California Form 700, which is a statement of economic interests.
The timing of all this is troubling, and we should all be concerned. We now have an active recall campaign that is a waste of time and public resources, and I have questions that need to be answered. I want to know what probable cause the FBI has. What evidence have they collected that justifies raiding the home of a sitting mayor without notice and without the courtesy of a conversation? I want to know more about the handful of billionaires from San Francisco and from Piedmont who are hell-bent on running me out of office. I want to know why, the day following the qualification of a recall election, funded by some of the richest people in the Bay Area, seemed like the right day to execute a warrant. I want to know how the TV cameras knew to show up on my sleepy residential street so early in the morning to capture footage of the raid. And I want to know why Fox News and Breitbart were so prepared to fan the flames and to tell a story that they want to tell.
But unfortunately, it gets much, much worse for Sheng Thao, again, if these allegations are to be true. Because one of the things that's being highlighted, and it's in all the headlines, is that Sheng Thao apparently wanted $3 million from the Duongs for all of the benefits that she was conferring onto them. And it seems like the indictment supports this, and they actually have this request. And honestly, it's kind of funny because it looks like Sheng Thao in this particular instance decided to ratchet up the demands after she had already been sworn into office in March of 2023. Now, she was sworn in January of 2023, but in March, this is when she supposedly made these demands.
But what I do know is that this wouldn't have gone down the way it did if I was rich, if I had gone to elite private schools, or if I had come from money. I know that for sure because former elected officials are sitting safely in their houses, in the hills right now with campaign finance violations piling up, mountains of evidence that prove actual wrongdoing. Their front doors remain intact, their reputations preserved, their innocence presumed until proven guilty. They will never face this indignity. This I know for sure because I was born poor in America, and that teaches you a lot about the world from day one.
So the indictment says shortly before Thao was elected mayor in 2022, the Duongs offered that Jones could make $300,000, and this is in quotes, in direct payments for a no-show job if she steered city contracts to the Duong's modular home firm, Evolutionary Homes. Since Thao and Jones lived together, the spoils could be split between them evenly. But in March of 2023, 2 months after Thao was sworn in, the indictment alleges that Thao asked for additional money up front in furtherance of the bribery scheme. It goes on to say that the parties discussed an updated arrangement whereby Jones would receive up to $3 million instead of the $300,000 as originally agreed, in exchange for the city of Oakland upping their purchase to 300 modular homes and giving Cal Waste Solutions a 10-year contract. Mind you that Thao and Jones did not get their $3 million bribe, although they did ask for it. Jones did not even get the full $300,000 that he was promised and only got $95,000 as this modular home deal on the decommissioned Oakland Army base fell through for still unknown reasons. So I just want to say you absolutely have to love the way that these woke Democrats operate. This woman was in favor of defunding the police, reducing the number of officers in order to make sure that we had a creative and innovative approach to crime. By the way, she's the same person who blamed the media for showing the crime in Oakland for the reason why that she lost her recall.
And so we know that the work that we have done was actually great and it's positive. And it is because of doom loopers that continue to talk about nasty crimes in the city of Oakland that allows for people to believe that, somehow the crimes aren't coming down. And it is that fear mongering that you continue to do that actually suppresses a lot of people's feelings about Oakland. And I think that that's very unjust.
So Oakland Mayor Sheng Thao very much of the belief that there's too much negative news. In fact, she has pointed out to reporters, including myself, that there needs to be more focus on positive news. But clearly she is digging in her heels. The night is still young. Right now, 65% of those in favor of her recall, as well as the recall of District Attorney Pamela Price.
But behind the scenes, what we find out, according to these allegations, if they are true, is that not only was she subjecting herself to a bribery scheme in order to enrich herself by wasting taxpayer dollars, but after she was already in office, she wanted 10x what was originally agreed upon. She wanted $3 million because she was going to buy more homes. However, eventually that deal ended up falling through for reasons that the indictment is not aware of, and it turns out that her partner, Jones, only received $90,000 or $95,000 in the furtherance of this scheme. So they were supposed to get $300K. She wanted $3 million and ended up with $95,000, which honestly is kind of a perfect model of democratic governance in terms of when they do policies in order to bring in revenue versus what they actually bring in. But again, all of this was done at the same time when she was calling out the waste in the budget for Oakland Fire and again, the Oakland Police. And make no mistake about it, they did give them that waste management contract. They did purchase some of these homes for them, not as many as, again, that they wanted to purchase. And it's absolute madness that this woman was just this blatantly corrupt, if this indictment is believed to be true, in the position of Oakland mayor. Now, even though that housing deal fell through, again, in furtherance of the idea that she was trying to make $3 million for herself, Thao offered to buy the homes in question using, quote, emergency powers, which would be an end around the required transparency rules and the competitive bidding process. And the fellow who negotiated the bribe, checkered past businessman Mario Juarez, who has perhaps flipped for the feds, has likely given a ton of information about this. As we see below from his messages to Andy Duong, he types in very precise language, quote, "We are bribing them with this, and here's what we get in return," kind of text threads, which of course makes the work of federal prosecutors so much easier. Now, honestly, if these text messages were written in such a way that they quite literally said, "We are bribing Mayor Sheng Thao, here's what we spend on her, here's what we get in return," it makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, the reason why Asians don't commit that many crimes in the United States of America is because they're that not good at it. They're that blunt, obvious, and precise with their language, even though Mario Juarez obviously of Latino birth, but he should know better in my opinion. But yeah, again, if these allegations are proven to be true and they look absolutely damning, the indictment is loaded with evidence, Sheng Thao is on her way to jail, or at least she should be. She may escape accountability in some way, shape, or form. And I also want to point out something very unfortunate, which is a member of the Duong family that is subject to this indictment actually got a request approved in order to attend the inauguration of President Trump. So maybe, just maybe, the corruption is a both party kind of thing, although locally it is clearly aligned with the Democratic Party. But yeah, obviously Sheng Thao, corrupt in that she of course backed the defund the police movement and all that nonsense, one of these woke politicians that again behind the scenes is double dealing. But this is really where we are as of right now. Can't wait for the trial, but of course I want to know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the Oakland mayor, or former Oakland mayor, getting indicted. Till next time.